Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The topic of today's lecture is acquired disorders of epidermal keratinization. This is part 2 of my lecture, which I delivered last week. So similar to the last week's lecture, I'm also going to discuss a few very different type of skin diseases that are characterized by disorders of epidermal keratinization. So the first disease to be discussed today is keratosis circumscripta. It is a rare condition that is characterized by circumscribed areas of follicular hyperkeratosis. So like keratosis pilaris and lichen spinulosus, it is a disorder of follicular keratinization. It is rare and has a controversial status. Some consider it as a form of psoriasis, while others consider it as a variant of Pityriasis rubra pilaris. The disease develops first in childhood and then persists afterwards. Histology is that of follicular hyperkeratosis with follicular plugging and moderate degree of hyperkeratosis. The disease starts at the age of 3 to 5, when the lesions develop quickly within 2 to 3 weeks. It is characterized by well-defined areas of diffuse and follicular hyperkeratosis that affect the extensor surfaces of arm, leg, trunk, hands, and feet. Lesions become thicker and hyperpigmented and sometimes acquire a violaceous color. The typical feature of keratosis circumscripta is the circumscribed nature of the follicular papules. Such circumscribed follicular papules are not seen in other follicular keratotic disorders. Furthermore, these follicles, they are bigger in size and have a slight violaceous hue. The differential diagnoses include atypical form of Pityriasis rubra pilaris, lichen spinulosa, and even follicular psoriasis. The disease course and prognosis. Once established, the condition persists, and lesions slowly increase in size and become more keratotic. Management. It is a poorly responsive disease and generally does not improve by topical corticosteroid, topical retinoids, or other conventional keratolytics. 40% urea cream, which is commonly used to remove the dead nail keratin, is used as a treatment for this condition. Phyrinoderma. Phyrinoderma is again a disorder of follicular keratosis. But now there is a specific cause, and that is the vitamin A deficiency. By Phyrinoderma, it means a toad skin. It is common in countries where there is malnutrition, but is also seen in certain conditions like liver cirrhosis, malabsorption syndrome, and anorexia nervosa with anorexia nervosa and alcohol abuse. In all such conditions, there is decrease in absorption of vitamin A from the gut. The disease is commonest in children between 5 to 15 years, especially in countries with poor socioeconomic status. Pathophysiology. Phyrinoderma was initially thought to be due purely to vitamin A deficiency, but later on other deficiencies of other nutrients are also found that include B complex, riboflavin, vitamin C, vitamin E, and essential fatty acid. Phyrinoderma is characterized by a group of papules which are around 3 to 4 millimeter in diameter with a keratotic plug. The papules are follicular in distribution. Elbow and knees are commonly affected site. In generalized disease, trunk and face may be affected. Since it is mainly due to the deficiency of vitamin A, so other conditions due to vitamin A deficiency, that is night blindness, conjunctival xerosis, and ulceration may also accompany. Differential diagnoses are other causes of follicular keratosis, like keratosis pilaris, lichen spinulosus, PRP, then lichen nitidus, and perforating disorders as well. Complication and comorbidities are Bitot spots, conjunctival xerosis, and later on blindness. All patients of suspected Phyrinoderma should be advised to get their vitamin A levels done, and serum vitamin A less than 35 micromole per deciliter indicates hypovitaminosis. Some patients are also suffering from hypoproteinemia. The treatment involves the correction of the poor diet and administration of multivitamins that contain vitamin A. The dose of vitamin A in children above 8 years and in adults is 100,000 units of vitamin A for the first 3 days, then 50,000 units for the next 2 weeks, and 10,000 units for the next 2 months. By this time, the liver stores of vitamin A are acquired and no longer vitamin A supplement is required. However, the diets containing vitamin A should be continued. Trichodysplasia spinulosa. Trichodysplasia spinulosa is again a disorder of follicular keratosis, but now the condition is an infection. And it is an infection of inner root sheath by a polyoma virus. And this is seen especially in immunocompromised individuals, such as those having organ transplant or suffering from lymphocytic leukemia, and rarely associated with SLE. The Trichodysplasia spinulosa is caused by a group 1 double-strand DNA virus of family Polyomaviridae and genus Orthopolyomavirus. TSP-YV is the name of polyomavirus, and this causes dysplasia and not neoplasia. Clinically, it is characterized by shiny follicular papules with a central spiny keratotic spikes, mainly on the facial skin. Alopecia of eyebrow and scalp may also occur. Usually asymptomatic, but mild pruritus is seen. It is confused with other follicular keratotic disorder. Trichodysplasia spinulosa progresses unless specifically treated. And investigation is by the characteristic histological changes in hair follicles, and the virus is picked up by using molecular or immunofluorescence studies. First line treatment of Trichodysplasia spinulosa is reduction of immunocompromised status of the individual, then oral valganciclovir or topical cidofovir. Second line is topical tazarotene, then topical compound of acyclovir and deoxy-D-glucose and a green tea extract. The next disease I'm going to discuss is Flegel disease. This is also called as hyperkeratosis lenticularis perstans. This disease is characterized by flat hyperkeratotic papules, mainly on the lower leg and dorsal surface of the feet. It is a disease of old age. Each papule is about 1 to 5 millimeter in diameter and topped by a horny keratotic scale. Removal of this scale will result in bleeding. A number of reports have suggested an association with endocrinopathy, especially diabetes. Ultraviolet light may play a role, and disease could be a result of cell-mediated immune response to keratinocytes. Both familial and non-familial variants have been recognized. This is the histological appearance. There is a angular tier of hyperkeratosis and parakeratosis, in which hyperkeratosis and parakeratosis alternates in vertical plane, along with epidermal atrophy and a lichenoid infiltrate. The epidermal atrophy is pronounced underlying the keratotic plug, the hyperkeratotic plug, and spongiosis is also seen. Another point to note here is that this is a keratotic plug and it is not associated with follicular plugging or follicular keratosis. So this is an interfollicular keratosis affecting the normal epidermis. The lesion of Flegel disease is red-brown non-follicular 1 to 5 mm and lower, and is located on the lower leg in adults, adult or middle-aged elderly people. Lesion is asymptomatic. Other sites include outer earlobe, arm, palm, soles, and oral mucosa. Scale is removed with thin bleeding points, and trunk is involved in generalized disease. This is how flagell disease would look like: multiple, discrete, gray-brown, 1 to 5 mm scaly papules on the dorsal surface of foot, leg, arm, spina, buttock, trunk, or hands. Differential diagnosis, if occur on the face, actinic keratosis; on body and hands and feet, arsenical keratosis. Darier's disease. Darier is a follicular disease but is characterized by dirty papules. Then Curley's disease, porokeratosis, and stucokeratosis. Flagell disease is difficult to treat, and treatment need to be continued for a prolonged period of time. The topical treatment is 5-fluorouracil given for several months with dermabrasion and local excision. Systemic retinoids may be given, and in third line, topical vitamin D analogs and topical retinoids and keratolytics, but not with good results. Another related disease to be discussed is multiple minute digitate keratosis. The term multiple minute digitate keratosis is a rare clinically distinctive disorder of keratinization with multiple tiny spiky cutaneous keratosis that appear in adult life. The genetic form present at earlier age 20 to 30 years and may be associated with malignancies and other systemic disease if it is occurring late in life. There is a variety of in which the post-inflammatory or reactive disease occur in association with solar damage, with radiotherapy, or with drugs like acitretin, simvastatin, and cyclosporin. Clinically, it is distinct with other follicular keratotic disorder as well as flagell disease. Like flagell disease, this is a non-follicular disorder, not associated with follicular hyperkeratosis. And unlike flagell disease, the size of lesion is small, that is up to 2 millimeter, and the lesions are spiky. Rather than having a scale, they have a spiky keratotic look. You can see the histology here. There is a discrete column of compact hyperkeratosis. Parakeratosis is not seen in this column, and this is not sitting on a hair follicle. Another histological difference with flagell disease is beneath the keratotic plug of flagell disease, there is epidermal atrophy and spongiosis. But in minute digitate hyperkeratosis, there is acanthosis and no spongiosis. Differential diagnosis is other disorder of follicular keratinization like lichen spinulosa, Phyrinoderma, filiform wart, Trichodysplasia spinulosa, and arsenical keratosis. Management is mainly by keratolytic agents, particularly salicylic acid and lactic acid with emollients. Second line is topical retinoids in combination with emollients and urea cream, and third line is topical 5-fluorouracil. Then the next disease which we are going to discuss today is a very important disease, and it is called as the porokeratosis. Porokeratosis is a clonal expansion of keratinocytes which differentiates abnormally but are not hyperproliferative. Porokeratosis may present as single or multiple lesions and may be localized or disseminated. All forms show thin column of parakeratosis that is infiltrating the epidermis at an angle. And this column is called as the coronoid lamella. The lesions start as papule or plaque and gradually develop an annular margin. The margin is characterized by a thin thread-like rim. Malignant changes, especially squamous cell carcinoma, is common in some varieties of porokeratosis. Clinically, porokeratosis is generally divided into two types: the localized and disseminated. Among the localized forms of porokeratosis, the first and foremost is porokeratosis of Mibili, linear porokeratosis, punctate palmoplantar porokeratosis, genital porokeratosis, and perianal porokeratosis. The disseminated forms of porokeratosis include the disseminated superficial actinic porokeratosis, then disseminated superficial porokeratosis, systematized linear porokeratosis, and disseminated palmoplantar porokeratosis. Epidemiology. Disseminated superficial actinic porokeratosis is the most common form, and it manifests first in adult life. The classical porokeratosis of Mibili and linear porokeratosis may develop during infancy or childhood. Punctate palmoplantar porokeratosis and disseminated palmoplantar porokeratosis both appear in adolescence. Porokeratosis of Mibili, giant porokeratosis, and punctate porokeratosis is common in male, while disseminated superficial actinic porokeratosis is more common in female. The linear porokeratosis have equal sex ratio. Ethnicity. All form of porokeratosis is seen predominantly in people with pale fair skin. Porokeratosis is associated with certain diseases like HIV infection, Crohn's disease, diabetes, liver failure, kidney failure, and hematological and solid tumor. So, in patient of porokeratosis, all such investigations should be performed. That include the blood complete picture, RFTs, LFTs, HIV, and blood sugar fasting. Pathophysiology. Porokeratosis represents a clonal expansion of keratinocytes which show abnormal differentiation but are not hyperproliferative. The cornoid lamella is composed of parakeratotic keratinocytes that result from faulty maturation or an accelerated epidermopoiesis. In disseminated superficial actinic porokeratosis, there may be a mutation of SART3 gene or mevalonate kinase gene. Predisposing factor. Drug-induced immunosuppression is a predisposing factor, and so is the natural or therapeutic ultraviolet radiation. All form of porokeratosis is reported to have an autosomal dominant inheritance with variable penetrance. While in linear porokeratosis, since they involve the Blaschkoid lines, it is due to genetic mosaicism. So the porokeratosis is characterized by a column of parakeratosis that is entering into the epidermis at an angle, and this cornoid lamella is not related to pore of acrine duct, which is the misnomer. So it generally originates from a non-adnexal epidermis. The column of porokeratosis, the column of parakeratosis or the cornoid lamella is associated with underlying loss of granular layer in the epidermis with little bit of dysplastic changes within the underlying epidermis. The cornoid lamella is typical of porokeratosis, but rarely the cornoid lamella is seen also in seborrheic keratosis, warts, actinic keratosis, basal cell carcinoma, and squamous cell carcinoma. Clinically, porokeratosis generally presents as a single or multiple papule or plaque, which later on takes the annular configuration. Porokeratosis is usually asymptomatic, but mild pruritus or discomfort may also occur. The clinical forms of porokeratosis are either localized or disseminated. Among the localized forms, the first and foremost is porokeratosis of Mibili. That is characterized by single or small group of keratotic papule that gradually grow over years to form one or more large irregular plaque with thin keratotic border. The center is atrophic or scarred, with hyper or hypopigmentation, loss of hairs, and loss of sweating. Lesions can occur anywhere on the body, especially extremities, but may also be seen on the face. The giant and verrucous forms are also seen. This is how the normal porokeratosis would look like, characterized by multiple small to large papules and plaques with a thin rim or margin. This is porokeratosis of Mibili, a large plaque with a raised border and central atrophy or scar. This is a giant or verrucous porokeratosis. You can see the amount of hyperkeratosis that is seen in this lesion. Then linear porokeratosis occur in infancy as unilateral streak of reddish brown papules along the limbs or side of the trunk that follow the blaschkoid lines. There is a high risk of malignant transformation in such lesions. So this is a case of linear porokeratosis. It is easily confused with lichen striatus with verrucous epidermal nevus. Then punctate palmoplantar porokeratosis, characterized by seed-like or punctate keratosis on palm and soles, and usually starts in adolescence. Genital porokeratosis is a rare variety in which it's seen mainly in men and more commonly on the scrotum. Vulval porokeratosis is also rarely described. There is a kind of porokeratosis that is seen perianally, and it is also called as the porokeratosis tychotropica. Among the disseminated forms of porokeratosis, the most common is disseminated superficial actinic porokeratosis, which accounts for more than half of the cases of porokeratosis. There are a few of multiple flesh-colored pink or brownish, finely scaly macules that gradually develop a thin raised border and appear in adult life mainly on lower leg and arm. Palm and soles are not affected. Lesions are small, less than 1 centimeter. Patient give history of worsening of lesions on sun exposure. This is how superficial actinic porokeratosis would look like. Small papules, flat papules with a very narrow rim. Then disseminated superficial porokeratosis, which is not actinic. So it is not necessary that it occurs on sun exposed areas and can also occur in non-sun exposed areas, including oral mucosa and genitalia. It is associated with immunodeficiency like organ transplant, malignancy, and HIV. Then systematized linear porokeratosis. There can be more than one linear porokeratotic lesions following the blaschkoid lines. Disseminated palmoplantar porokeratosis. It is a generalized form in which, in addition to palmoplantar porokeratosis, you can see the lesions on other sun or non-sun exposed areas, including oral mucosa and genitalia. Differential diagnosis. The DD of porokeratosis of Mibili is a large one and includes psoriasis. It includes superficial spreading BCC. Disseminated superficial actinic porokeratosis looks like actinic keratosis or stucokeratosis. Linear porokeratosis looks like verrucous epidermal nevus lichen striatus in Continentia pigmenti. Punctate palmoplantar porokeratosis looks like lichen planus or viral warts. All patients of porokeratosis who develop the lesion suddenly should be investigated to rule out any immunosuppressive disease, including HIV and hematological malignancies. Among the complications, squamous cell carcinoma is possible in long-standing lesion and mostly seen in linear porokeratosis. Disease course and prognosis, all forms are chronic and tendency of spontaneous resolution is there. In the management, there are two approaches. First of all, treat the underlying abnormal clone of cells using the same approach as we use for actinic keratosis. And secondly, target the abnormal keratinization which is present at the periphery of the lesion of porokeratosis by treating this area with topical or systemic retinoids. The first line therapy for all porokeratosis include cryotherapy, 5-fluorouracil, imiquimod, curettage and cautery, photodynamic therapy, carbon dioxide laser, topical diclofenac and topical vitamin D analog. Second line therapy include oral retinoids, including isotretinoin or acitretin. The next disease we are going to discuss is an important and interesting one, and it is called as transient acantholytic dermatosis or TAD. There is another name for TAD, which is Grover's disease. Sorry for a little break. This disease is a relatively common, transient or persistent, monomorphous papillovesicular eruption that affect the trunk. It is mildly pruritic, and its clinical appearance is not typical of this disease and is mimicked by various inflammatory dermatosis. The disorder is mainly seen in old people with male predominance, and especially in white or type 1 and 2 skin types. TAD may be seen in conjunction with other inflammatory dermatosis, including psoriasis, steatotic eczema, contact allergic or contact irritant dermatitis, and associated with skin cancers and hematological malignancies. Grover's disease or TAD is not an autoimmune disorder in which the autoantibodies are seen against the desmosomal proteins as we see in pemphigus group of diseases. However, antibodies are seen against various other proteins involved in keratinocyte development, activation, growth, adhesion, and motility. Predisposing factor is the most and foremost predisposing factor in Grover's disease is ultraviolet light. In addition to that, heat and sweating also predispose to this condition. And it is also seen in hospitalized and bedridden patients. Clinically, histologically, Grover's disease looks like pemphigus vulgaris or Hailey-Hailey disease. But the foremost and main difference between the two diseases is that the Grover's disease is a well-localized disease, clinically characterized by small papules, and histologically, the acantholytic areas are also limited and smaller in size. So you can see a localized area of acantholysis, and it is not the typical suprabasal acantholysis which is seen in pemphigus, but it is more of a partial acantholysis which is seen in Hailey-Hailey disease. But in any case, the acantholytic areas are very small and well localized. In addition to acantholysis, the other important feature that is observed is spongiosis, which is seen in just like we see in eczema. In few cases of TAD or Grover's disease, we can see corons as well as the grains that are typical of diarrheal disease, but the difference from diarrheal disease here is that diarrheal disease is a follicular disease, and all such changes are seen overlying a follicle. But Grover's disease is not a follicular disease, and such conditions are seen in interfollicular epidermis. So histological patterns of Grover's disease are variable and interesting. It can be diarrhea-like, in which you can see, in addition to acantholysis, corons and dyskeratotic cells. Then it could be Hailey-Hailey-like, in which there is no corons or dyskeratosis, but it is partial acantholysis. And pemphigus vulgaris type, where is suprabasal acantholysis with large number of eosinophils are seen. Pemphigus foliaceous type, in which subcorneal split is seen. And lastly, a spongiotic variety in which looks like eczema, in which there is spongiosis and intraepidermal vesiculation. Clinical features. Whatever is the histological type of Grover's disease, the clinical features are almost the same. That is, it is characterized by small papulovesicular eruption, mainly seen on the trunk in middle-aged or elderly white male. And it quickly crusts and develops a keratotic erosion. Eruption is very itchy, and patients present with multiple excoriation. As the name signifies, the lesions are transient and last for 2 to 4 weeks, but the recurrence is possible, and sometimes lesions persist for months or years. This is how the Grover's disease would look like. A small keratotic papule and such kind of appearance is seen in many other related dermatoses like folliculitis due to petrosporum, then folliculitis due to any drug, papular urticaria, scabies. Galli-Galli disease is an acantholytic variant of Dowling-Digo disease and resembles TAD, but it is usually more widespread and affects hands and groin as well. Complication and comorbidities. Sometimes TAD is associated with skin cancers. TAD may resolve spontaneously after weeks or months or persist for years. Management. Patient should avoid sunlight, strenuous exercise, heat, which all can exacerbate the condition. First line treatment is by topical steroids, topical vitamin D analogs, and calcineurin inhibitors. Systemic antihistamines are given to control pruritus. Second line treatment is the short course of corticosteroids, systemic retinoids, phototherapy, and methotrexate. And the third line treatment is etanercept. And one patient is treated with photodynamic therapy. The next disease to be discussed is keratolysis exfoliativa, also called as recurrent focal palmar peeling. Keratolysis exfoliativa is a common disease of young adults, characterized by discrete areas of superficial skin peeling on palm and sometimes on sole, leading to circinate or irregular annular pattern of scaling. The condition is associated with hyperhidrosis, presents mainly in summers with warm weather, and it is aggravated by use of detergents, solvents, and irritants. There is no particular irritation or vesicle formation. Peeled area of skin lack the normal barrier function and become dry and fissured, particularly the fingertips. This is how the scaling is seen. Histology show cleavage and partial degradation of corneodesmosome within stratum corneum. So this disease histologically affects the stratum corneum. It may be confused with pompholyx, psoriasis, tinea magnum, epidermolysis bullosa simplex, and acral skin peeling syndrome. It is self-limiting but recur every summer. Management is usually by a mild degree of emollients, and patients should be advised to avoid detergents and other irritants. Urea and salicylic acid are both advised for the treatment. The last disease is a very common one, is xerosis cutis or estiotosis. Xerosis cutis or acquired dry skin is a term used for abnormality of the skin that has lost its normal smooth, soft texture and feel dry, rough to touch. This is a result of a range of endogenous or exogenous factors, especially aging and low ambient humidity, and is associated with impaired epidermal barrier function. So this is accompanied by pruritus, which is usually called as a winter itch because the condition occurs mainly in winter in elderly people using old heating systems with less humidity. And this condition predisposed to eczema, craquelé, or osteototic eczema. It is associated with old age, with malnutrition, marasmus, diabetes, renal failure, and patient on dialysis. So seen in winters and in low humidity and excessive contact with soaps and detergents, lack of estrogen also predisposed to the condition, especially in postmenopausal women. Xerosis cutis affects the shin mostly, but may become widespread, but spares face, neck, palm, and soles. Affected skin would look dull, dry, and finely scaly, which the scales shed readily. The surface of skin develop a crisscross superficial cracks, giving a crazy paving pattern. Management. Apart from removal of the precipitating cause, patient should be instructed to avoid applying potential irritants on the skin and reduce the humidity by using a bowl containing water in front of the centrally heating facility. Then emollients and moisturizers are treatment of choice. And if steatotic eczema develops, then mild corticosteroid is given. And topical tacrolimus or pimecrolimus are the alternates. So I thank you all for a very patient listening.